Marilyn Monroe. Two marriages, two disappointments, one tragedy. Marilyn Monroe, the world's most famous sex symbol, the brightest star of Hollywood's golden age. But behind the curtain, there was a broken woman, a woman searching for love, wanting to be understood, but disappointed every single time. Her two marriages were the most painful chapters of her tragic life. Joe DiMaggio's suffocating jealousy and Arthur Miller's cold distancing pushed Monroe into even deeper loneliness. This isn't just a love story. This is the story of a woman who got lost searching for love and eventually disappeared in a tragic way. Marilyn Monroe, whose real name was Norma Jean Mortensen, came from a difficult childhood. Her mother was mentally ill, and Monroe grew up in foster homes. She never experienced real family warmth. She was always abandoned, always left alone. That's why in her adult life, she searched everywhere for love, security, and a sense of belonging. That's what she was looking for in her marriages too, but unfortunately she never found it. She got married for the first time at 16, but this marriage ended quickly. Then she came to Hollywood. Thanks to her beauty and charm, she rose rapidly. But everyone saw her only as a beautiful object. Nobody wanted to see the real Marilyn until she met Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio was one of America's greatest baseball legends. His career was over, but he was still a national hero. He was a strong, charismatic man, committed to traditional values. When they met Marilyn in 1952, they both fell in love. Joe was fascinated by Marilyn's beauty. Marilyn was drawn to Joe's strength and protectiveness. They got married in 1954. Their wedding was simple, but under great media attention. Marilyn thought she would finally build a family, be loved and protected. Joe dreamed of locking his beautiful wife at home and making her a traditional housewife. But they both misunderstood each other. Joe DiMaggio was extremely jealous. He hated Marilyn's career. He was uncomfortable with them presenting her as a sex symbol. Every film Marilyn made, every photo shoot, was torture for Joe. Especially that famous scene in The 7-Year Itch brought the tension between them to its peak. Marilyn, wearing a white dress, stands over a subway grate as her skirt flies up. This scene became one of the most iconic moments in cinema history. But for Joe, this was a disgrace. Seeing his wife displayed like that in front of the whole world wounded his masculine pride. He was there during the shooting and watched with anger. When they got home, they had a terrible fight. Joe couldn't understand Marilyn. For him, Marilyn should just be a beautiful wife. But Marilyn was an artist, an actress. She loved her career and wanted to be famous. Joe couldn't accept this. The fights increased. Joe sometimes acted aggressively. Marilyn was scared. 9 months. Their marriage lasted only 9 months. They divorced in October 1954. Marilyn cited mental cruelty in the divorce papers. Joe's jealousy and pressure had suffocated her. But the strange thing was, even after they divorced, Joe's love for Marilyn never ended. Joe loved Marilyn forever. Even after they divorced, he protected her, watched over her, tried to care for her. Marilyn always called Joe in her difficult times, and Joe was always there. But they couldn't be together. Because Joe didn't love Marilyn as she was, he loved her the way he wanted her to be. After the divorce, Marilyn moved closer to intellectual circles. She wanted to be a serious actress. She didn't want to be just a sex symbol. She moved to New York and took acting classes at the Actors Studio. And there she met Arthur Miller. Arthur Miller was one of the most famous playwrights of the era. He was known for works like Death of a Salesman. He was an intellectual, deep-thinking, and politically active man. Marilyn admired his intelligence. Arthur was captivated by Marilyn's beauty and fragility. They got married in 1956. This marriage was a new beginning for Marilyn. Now, she wouldn't just be a beautiful star, she would be the wife of a serious artist. She would be accepted in intellectual circles. Arthur would be inspired by Marilyn, would write about her. Everything seemed perfect. But they were wrong again. Arthur initially found Marilyn interesting and inspiring, but over time, Marilyn's emotional problems, insecurity, and constant need for approval exhausted Arthur. Marilyn became pregnant but had a miscarriage. She got pregnant once more and miscarried again. These traumas deeply shook their marriage. Arthur wrote the screenplay for The Misfits for Marilyn. This film was the last project they worked on together, but during filming, the coldness between them was clearly visible. Marilyn read what Arthur wrote in his notebook. Arthur described her as a disappointment. Marilyn was devastated. Arthur distanced himself from Marilyn. He wasn't talking to her, wasn't touching her. Marilyn felt alone and unwanted. Her alcohol and drug use increased. She became dependent on sleeping pills. She was constantly late on sets, forgetting her lines, disrupting filming. Arthur no longer loved Marilyn. Maybe he never had. Maybe he was only fascinated by her beauty and fame. But he didn't love the real Marilyn, the fragile, insecure Marilyn who needed love. To him, Marilyn was too much work, too problematic. They divorced in 1961. 5 years of marriage came to an end. Marilyn was alone again. Arthur quickly married another woman. Marilyn sank even deeper. Marilyn Monroe's last year was a nightmare. She was being fired from films. Studios didn't want to work with her. She was too unreliable, too problematic. Her friends were distancing themselves. She had no family. Joe DiMaggio was still there, but she wasn't married to him. Arthur Miller was gone. Marilyn was completely alone. She was seeing psychiatrists. She was using sleeping pills, tranquilizers, antidepressants. But nothing was enough. Nothing could fill the emptiness inside her. She couldn't find in adulthood the love she didn't receive in childhood. On the night of August 5th, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her home. She was 36 years old. The official report was probable suicide from drug overdose. But her death is still controversial. Was it an accident? Was it suicide? Or was it something else? Nobody knows for certain. Joe DiMaggio organized her funeral. For 20 years, he sent red roses to Marilyn's grave 3 times a week. He loved her even after death, protected her. But when Marilyn was alive, he couldn't love her as she was. Arthur Miller wrote about Marilyn after her death, but his writings were cold and distant. He didn't hide his disappointment in Marilyn. To him, Marilyn was a woman who couldn't be saved. Marilyn Monroe's story isn't just the tragic end of a star. This is the story of a woman getting lost in her search for love, of men failing to understand her, and of society seeing her only as an object. Joe DiMaggio wanted to own her, but didn't understand her. Arthur Miller used her, but didn't love her. And Marilyn eventually died alone. This story shows us that fame and beauty don't bring happiness. Marilyn Monroe was the world's most desired woman, but also the loneliest woman. Both her marriages failed because nobody loved the real Marilyn. Everyone only loved the image, the icon, the sex symbol. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. Do you think Marilyn Monroe's tragic end could have been prevented? Did Joe DiMaggio really love her, or did he just want to own her? Share your thoughts in the comments. This is how Marilyn Monroe's story was lived and how it ended. She became a legend in history, but in real life, she was just a broken woman searching for love. And unfortunately, she never found what she was looking for.